Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mangs, and today I welcome you guys to my very first tournament match. Yes, indeed. I signed up for the Advanced Wars by Web Mixed Open Challenge. It's a tournament hosted by Fujisku. Yeah, that. And I didn't really know what this was. I just kind of signed up for it, and I just kind of got thrown into it. And here's a fun little story. For the first 1 or 2 days of this match, I didn't actually know it was a tournament match. I thought it was a league match. So I just played it normally, like any other league match. And then I noticed 10 people were spectating the match, and 20 people, like, clicked follow on it. And I was just like, why are all the people so interested in a random league match all of a sudden? Like, I know I got some people following me on the site, but this is insane. And then I looked at the name of the match, and I was like, oh my god, this is the Mixed Base Open Challenge. So I actually had no idea that the site would automatically generate these matches when I signed up for it. I didn't know that was how it worked at all. I thought I was gonna have to create the match myself. So I got very shocked there. So only like on day 2 or day 3 did I actually realize I was playing in a tournament. So a little bit of a funny story for you guys there. So I'm not entirely sure about this because I didn't really read much about the tournament, but I do believe that the concept of the Mixed Base Open Challenge is to play on a map with mixed bases, where the bases are kind of all over the place. So as you can see right here, the map is mirrored, it is perfectly balanced, but bases are all over the place. So, you know, there are 3 different base locations right off the bat for each player. This means that there are 6 different points of the map where units will be coming from. So engagements can be taken in pretty much any direction. This creates a very chaotic map with a lot of decision making involved, because you can move your units in so many different directions, and you know, there can be fights pretty much taking place in 4 to 5 different locations at any given time. And I will actually say that I enjoyed the hell out of this match. I actually think this is one of the best maps I've ever played on, and I would not mind if this map or more maps like it got mixed into the league map pool, because I think this is truly an amazing way to play Advanced Wars. You know, there's so many decisions you need to make every single turn. So the skill ceiling for this map is incredibly high, and I really enjoyed it. It's called Hybrid Theory, by the way. I'll post a link to it in the video description if you guys want to go check it out. I will definitely want to play more games on this map, and I'm very much looking forward to the other maps in the tournament map pool as well. Now, as for the COs that we are playing in this map, this was a low tier CO match, so of course I went straight for Adder. You know, that is definitely my favorite pick if I'm going to be playing among the lower tiered COs. And my opponent also picked Adder, so this is actually going to be an Adder mirror matchup. So this is going to be a battle of pure skill. We cannot complain about the other CO being too strong. This is going to come down to decision making. The only thing I will say is I'm the second player in this match, and the second player does get the extra infantry to offset the first turn advantage. Now, I will say that the smaller the map is, the stronger it is to get 1 extra infantry, especially on a map like this where there are so many properties to capture right off the bat. So I will actually say that I think the second player has a slight edge on a map like this. I mean, just that 1 extra infantry means I can capture the base 1 turn earlier, that means I can get infantry out quicker, means I can capture more properties early on. It just means I'll have an income lead over the course of the match. Now, before we get started, I want to briefly talk about my opponent in this first round. His name is Def Moose. His official rating at the time of recording this is 1064.44. So he's pretty highly rated. He's definitely better rated than me. I currently have a rating of 786 right now. That being said, I have not really been playing that many league matches, so my rating may not represent my actual skill level. He also loves to play COs like Max, Jake, Sami, Hachi. Adder is actually one of his least played COs. He's only played 3 games as Adder in total, so he may not be that good at utilizing the side slip, you never know. But he does have a very good win-loss draw record, 24 wins to 10 losses, so this guy knows how to play, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this match goes. Alright, so as you can see, there is no Fog of War on this map, nor is there any time limit, and we're both earning 1,000 income per property. Anyway, let us jump into the match right here. So as you can see, I do have that extra infantry since I am player 2. I also start with an extra property already captured. Def Moose can grab this really early on and can get it on day 3, but that still gives me a total of 2,000 extra funds to play around with. So very strong second player advantage. I think this building may not really be necessary here. Anyway, Def Moose opens up infantry, nothing too spectacular here. It's pretty much what you'd expect on a map like this. So as my first turn rolls in, I go straight for the base, and I too open up with 3 infantry. This is going to be pretty much what both players will do for the opener right here. But what's going to be very interesting is seeing which bases each player will be going for. Def Moose obviously takes his base very early on. He goes for my city as well. This is a solid move. You definitely want to grab this city away from the second player so he stops getting income from it. And he goes for the 3rd city right underneath his base. So Def Moose definitely very interested in capturing buildings early on. He's not going straight for any of the contested properties. On this map, I would say that these buildings right here are definitely the contested ones. You know, there are 2 airports in the center, and there's like 4 properties right here that both players will be clashing over. Yeah, and he opens up 3 more infantry. On my turn, I finish capping my base. I go straight for the airport, actually. And I too also go for this base that is, or sorry, this property that is right next to my base. And once again, capturing properties that are right next to my base. So yeah, again, I've definitely changed my opener a lot lately. Instead of rushing for the properties in the center, I too have started going for the properties around my bases because I realized that, you know, not foregoing those bases is actually going to screw you over, especially if the other opponent opens very aggressive. And in a match like this, there's going to be aggression taking place very early on. There's going to be clashes taking place as early as like day 3 and day 4. Depending on how both players decides to move. Alright, so day 3 rolls in for Def Moose. He finishes capping his base. He goes for this property right here. And he too decides to go for his airport. Battlecopters are going to be very strong on this map. As you can see, there's plenty of rivers for them to dart back. The mountains are going to make it very hard for Anti-Air to reach them. So again, battlecopters are going to be incredible on this match right here. So Def Moose once again, he opens up a recon on day 3, and I was very surprised to see this. This is very, very unusual. Now there are plenty of roads and properties for the recon to move over, so it's gonna have a lot of mobility, but I'm still very surprised to see the early game recon. This is so easy for me to counter with a tank, and I don't really agree with this. We're not playing with Fog of War, so the vision of the recon is irrelevant. I think a recon, it certainly has its place in a match like this, but to open up with it, I don't really know if I agree with this at all. It's going to be so easy for me, as I said, to counter this with a tank. I don't really see the recon doing anything, and since it can't really scout, this is 4,000 funds I think would be better spent elsewhere. So on my turn, I finish capping my properties. I'm moving towards the comm tower. I'm not going to take it just yet, I just want to be close to it. And I decide to go into the middle right here. The recon cannot reach me in this location, and I open up a tank. You know, it's pretty common. You know, your opponent opens up recon, you open up with a tank to counter the recon. And I just continue building infantry. And here I decide to go for this property right here. We're going to be fighting pretty ferociously over this property because it's kind of in the middle of both of our bases, and both players have the ability to take it. I will say though that I favor this base for me because I have 2 bases very close to it. I also have these 2 mountains, which allows me to shoot from the mountain and down on the property, which gives me a lot of defense. And generally speaking, I can just reinforce this area quicker than Def Moose can. Now, he does have an airport in the vicinity, so if he gets out an early game battlecopter, then that is going to be very difficult for me to deal with, because an Anti-Air cannot shoot over this mountain range. I will need some missiles or a battlecopter of my own to deal with it. So it kind of depends on what the other player does. If he tries to just win with infantry, then it's not going to work out, because I will get 2 infantry to his 1. I will have the mountain range to my advantage. However, if he gets out a battlecopter, he will win this capture game right here. This is something that I definitely realized early on, and I realized the same situation applies over here in the north. If I can get on an early game battlecopter from this airport, it's going to be pretty much impossible for Def Moose to take this base. I might not be able to get it myself, but he won't be able to get it either. So I figured if I can take this property down south, and if I can lock him out of getting this one, then that's already an advantage for me. So on Deathmoose's turn, he starts to cap this property over here in the west. He moves down towards the airport in the middle. And he starts going for his comm tower very early on. So again, I was a little bit surprised to see this, you know, opening up a recon and going for the comm tower. This is how I used to play. You know, before I changed up my playstyle. You know, I would love to open up the early game recon and I would rush comm tower until I got pointed out by several higher ranked players that this is not really that good. You know, you should open up tank. You should not go for the early game to comm tower because it's kind of worthless. You know, it's just a worthless property. It doesn't give you any income. So it's not worth capping until you actually start taking engagement. Now, I will actually say that in this particular match, I actually went for the comm tower too late, and you will see what I mean by that later on. So here comes the recon, it goes straight into the center. Here it's covering a lot of important properties, but of course I do have my tank in position to zone it out, so it's not like it's going to be a very dangerous recon. And here he opens up mech. Again, this guy plays very much like I used to play, you know? Mechs, recons, and early game comm towers. It's like playing against, you know, younger mangs almost. Mechs, not a big fan of mechs right here. I'm not saying they don't have potential on this map, there's a lot of mountains to put them in. But the problem I have with mechs in this particular scenario is that there are tons of properties that needs to be captured. Mechs are not great at capturing. They're slow, they can't be join capped with other infantry, and they're expensive, you know, they cost 3 times as much. They're very bad capturers. Now, adder mechs are strong. They definitely have a lot of potential to be very valuable. You know, I hate dealing with mechs that suddenly gets 1 or 2 extra move. But in the early game like this, what is this mech really going to do? You know, it's going to move slowly towards I mean, it's not threatening anything. This mech is not anywhere near this tank. It's going to spend several turns to get close to it. And because this map is so open, my tank can dance around this mech. I can always remain out of range of this mech, especially considering it's not Fog of War, so he can't hide it in a forest and try to get a sneak attack that way. So I heavily disagree with this mech right here. I don't think it's a good opener at all. He should have just built an infantry. Honestly, he shouldn't have built this recon at all. I think the reason why he went for the mech is because he doesn't really have the money to build a tank. Let's see, he has 2,000 right now. Let's see what he actually decided to build. Yeah, so he has 7,000 exactly. So he could have built a tank, but that would have meant foregoing every single other base. So I think he decided to go mech because he simply couldn't afford the tank. You know, because he wanted to build infantry in his other bases. I think that's why he decided to build it. So this just goes to show how much the early game recon is hurting him. If this wasn't here, he could have built a tank in this base instead, and he could have still built infantry. So already his opener is just punishing him. So day 4 rolls in. I decide to go for this property right here before he can take it away from me. There's no way he can realistically interrupt this. You know, I finish capturing my properties. I send an infantry into this mountain right here because I realize he's probably going for this property. And I move my tank into the center. Right now, it is completely zoning out the recon. He has no choice but to retreat. And here I move and I decide to take this property right here. You know, I'm just... and this is the funny part. Because of the forest, as you can see, the recon actually cannot reach it. So even though there's plenty of roads, the recon is just hurt so much by forests and plain tiles. You know, it has to pay 2 movement costs to move over the plains and 3 movement costs to move over the forest. It is extremely immobile in rough terrain. So here I decide to start capturing this property right here. He only has a single infantry in place to interrupt it, and I'm pretty confident I'll be able to get it. I move this infantry to try and get this property right here. And I start taking the airport in the center as well. These 2 airports, by the way, incredibly strong on this map. Normally, airports are very far off the beaten path, and you are not really able to get battlecopters straight into the action. They usually take 3 to 4 turns to arrive. However, on these airports right here in the center, you can get battlecopters instantly where you need them to be, and that is so incredibly strong, especially on a map like this where there's going to be a lot of tanks rolling around. So whoever can control the airports in the middle will have a huge advantage on this map, and that's definitely something I noticed as I was playing. So here I move this infantry over here. I don't want to put myself in range of this infantry, but I still want to try and keep the infantry within capture range of the city right here. I realize there's going to be a lot of fighting over this airport and this city in particular. And I keep building infantry, you know, always just want to build infantry. I think that's actually all I build this turn. Yeah, I'm actually not building anything else. I don't want to build mechs, not this early on, so I'm just going to go for a bunch of infantry, because look at all the properties that still needs to be captured, you know. This is not the time for mechs, I think. So, on day 5, Defmoose finishes capturing his tower, which I think is a good time to capture. I mean, I do think he started the capture a little bit early, but I guess it didn't end up hurting him that much. He starts going for the airport. There's no real way I can really interrupt that. He also starts capturing his harbor and moves the mech into the mountain. You know, imagine if this was just an infantry, he could have almost started capping this property on the next turn. And here he interrupts my cap. And again, I figured he would do this. You know, I can see that there's going to be quite a fight over this property right here, but I'm confident I'm going to win it. I was worried about the battlecopter though, but he has 10,000 right now. So if he wants to build this battlecopter right here, that means leaving 2 of his bases empty. Because he has 3, no, actually 4 bases, sorry. So if he builds a battlecopter, he has enough money for 1 more infantry, which he'll probably build in this base, and then he'll need to leave his other 3 bases completely empty. And in fact, he did leave this base empty. He didn't build anything out of this base early. Yeah, or did he actually? Never mind, he moved his mech. I'm stupid. He moved his mech off this base and his infantry off this base. So he did actually build something in every one of his bases. But on a map like this, you definitely have to keep your factories busy. The factories always want to be producing units. Very important. So yeah, but I was worried about the battlecopter still. It would have been a pretty good move, I think. So here he decides to aggressively go for the city right here. He wants to try and get it. And he also sends 2 infantry and to go for this property right here. I will get the property, but he'll have to expend some resources trying to get it back from me. Oh, sorry, I pressed an action back there. And he builds a second mech, and again, I'm not a big fan of this at all. I understand he felt he needed some kind of response to my tank in the center. I do really get that, and I didn't want to build just a tank because he didn't have that much money, but nah. These 2 mechs are, you'll see just how useless they'll end up being. They won't really end up doing anything on this match. There's just too much ground for them to cover. And without Fog of War, you can't really rely on sneak attacks, so not a good opener. And he sends his recon into the center. This is actually a pretty good move. You know, he's threatening my comm tower, and this is something I definitely noticed. Like, he can attempt to try and lock down my comm tower right now, which is going to be very annoying for me. You know, 10% firepower increase on him, no firepower increase on me. That is a gap which will slowly, you know, build itself up over the course of a game. So, day 5 rolls in, and I decide to start capping the comm tower. You know, I decided I'm not going to be intimidated by this recon because I can build a tank on this base right here. So I decide, you know, I'm just going to cap it anyway. It's fine. I'm just going to cap properties, man. That's all I'm going to do. So I finish capping this city, and I finish capping the airport, and I send my tank right into the center. So now I'm basically forcing his recon to make a choice. You know, the recon can attack me from this forest tile, and he can attack me from this plains tile. But in either way, he is going to get attacked by this tank. Now what he can do is he can move the recon down here, and he can attack me from the south, but of course then he won't interrupt my comm tower, but the tank will be out of range. That's something he definitely can do. Now I move my infantry into this mountain right here, preparing to join up with the damaged infantry. And instead of sending this infantry, I was contemplating sending this infantry down here, but I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go grab this city instead. Even though I know he's probably going to interrupt it, I need to actually capture properties on this map. Send this infantry over here to grab these 3 cities here, and I send more infantry into the mountains to try... I'm not going for this capture right here. You know, I'm just staying in the vicinity. I'm letting him go for the capture first because I realize I can shoot down on him from the mountains. So, and here comes a second tank. So this tank is guarding... basically these 2 infantry. It's not guarding this infantry if he decides to send his recon down here to shoot at me. That's something he can do. But if he wants to take a shot at my infantry on the comm tower right now, he has 2 tanks that will squeeze him out of that area. So I'm basically saying, okay, if you want to interrupt my comm tower cap, you're going to have to sack a recon. Let's see if he actually decides to do it. So here, I actually decide to open up a recon, or decide to build a recon, I should say. It's not an opener, because it's day 5. But the reason why I decided to go for the recon right here is because I see a lot of infantry in this area. And if I realize that this infantry is going to get taken out very quickly. So if I can just leave a recon on the city, then I'm basically forcing him to build a tank or a mech to deal with it. And yeah, just building more infantry. So day 6 rolls in, and you can see this is already a very complicated situation right here. You know, he has a comm tower over me. He has many infantry in this area that can go for either this property or this property. Yes, this is the side, I think, between one of them. I don't think he'll be able to get both. And he has to make a choice. Does he want to sack a recon to delay my capture of the comm tower? It could be worth it, because a lot of engagements are about to take place. I mean, engagements are already taking place down here, and he has the 10% advantage in firepower here. So the longer he interrupts his comm tower, the stronger he will be down here. So let's see what he actually decides to do. And this guy played very slowly, by the way. This guy took like an hour per turn, and he was like moving his units so incredibly slowly. So this guy was taking a lot of time to think about his moves. I was playing a lot faster. This is a problem I have. I play very quickly. I should slow myself down a little bit. So he moves his infantry away, moves his other infantry in, and he takes a shot. And I do believe he had a slight chance of actually killing the infantry there. Maybe with a good luck roll. I'm not entirely sure, but I think he might have had a good chance of doing it. But he didn't, and I was very happy. So I'm now going to be able to join together, and there's pretty much no way he'll be able to take that away from me, I'm pretty sure. So he sends his infantry over here to capture this property, takes a shot in the mountains, and moves another infantry in. So he wants to try and grab both, which I think is a mistake. He should have focused on one of them. So here he moves in, and he gets... I do believe he had a small chance of killing this infantry too if he got a good luck roll, so he's a little bit unlucky again. And here comes the predictable tank. And seeing this, I was like, okay, this kind of sucks. So here he moves in, and he does decide to actually sack the recon to delay the capture of the comm tower. So it turns out he really wants that 10% firepower advantage. He moves his infantry over here to interrupt this cap. Pretty well played by him. Blocks his own airport and builds an artillery. I was I thought this was a very fascinating move, honestly. The artillery, he definitely didn't want to commit a battlecopter to this. Artillery might be a good move. It can shell this city pretty safely. But honestly, I think the battlecopter would have been the much better opener here if he wanted to actually secure the city. Because what can I realistically do against the battlecopter in this situation? I have to build missiles, which I definitely don't want to build. So very surprised to see him commit so heavily without going battlecopter. He starts moving his mechs north, and I do realize that these guys are going to be a threat eventually. You know, once they make it into this area, they're going to be very hard to deal with. But I do have 2 tanks, and if the mechs move out into open terrain, I can get 2 first strikes on the mechs and shut them down. So he needs to be very careful with these 2 mechs. So day 6 rolls in, and here I move in with the tank. I take a shot at his recon, putting it down to 2 health. It can still probably bring my infantry down to 4 HP though, and delay the capture of the comm tower by yet another turn. So I was a little bit annoyed by that. I actually contemplated foregoing this cap right here and joining together on the infantry. I actually considered doing that. But I decided, you know what, no. I'm gonna get this comm tower eventually. There's no need to forego a cap. But yeah, I continue to just, you know, cap properties. And here I decided to move my recon over here and take a shot at... The reason why I took a shot at this 8 HP infantry right here, I kind of derped a little bit. I felt that this infantry was the only one who could pursue this infantry. I forgot about this one, obviously. Probably should have taken a shot at the full health infantry, but I decided not to. But I decided to build a tank here, and my reasoning was quite simple. You know, if he wants to send his tank over here to shoot my recon, the recon can move away, get replaced by a tank on the property, and I can get a first strike on his tank from one of my allied properties, which is a very good situation to be in. So I think I'm in a pretty good spot right now. Like, I'm basically forcing him into a very tough spot. If he wants to take a shot at my recon, he will basically lose his tank. So this recon is warding away a lot of infantry in this area right now, which I'm very happy to see. Once again, I'm just continuing to take... yeah. So here I capture this property, and instead of capturing, I take a shot at his infantry. Because I realize if I capture, he will take another shot, and he might bring it very low. You know, the decision-making between capturing a property or taking a shot with your infantry is always very tricky, you know. That's always something I struggle with, you know, do I want to attack or do I want to capture? If I capture, there's a chance I might finish the capture. But if I shoot on the infantry trying to interrupt me, then I might kill it. So it's a little bit depending on how you roll on the luck damage. So here, I join these 2 together and I join cap. So right now, there are 3 capture points left on the city. There's no way he's going to be able to interrupt this, so I will get this city 100%. And let's see if he's able to take it back. So I move again. more infantry into the mountains. Again, I have these 2 bases right here, which are just incredibly strong. You know, they can just continue ferrying infantry over here. So he's gonna be very hard pressed to take the city away from me. Here I decided to send some infantry into this area. There's just a single infantry on the harbor and 2 mechs that seem to be going north. So I'm figuring I'm gonna apply some pressure on these 2 properties right here, force a response from him basically. I move my infantry up north here, take a shot at his infantry, and is able to take it out completely. And I also have this tank that, if the need arises, I can send it north to take a shot at this infantry. Even though it's not a great use of a tank in my opinion, I definitely want the tank into the center. I can do it if I'm very desperate to interrupt this cap. But I decided to send the tank south because I realized that there's a lot more going on in the south. I'm kind of scared about these 2 mechs right here. You know, once Adder gets his normal power, these mechs can be very dangerous. You know, the dream scenario is you pop sideslip and then both of the mechs will take a shot at each of the tanks. So that's definitely something I need to be very careful about. But just continuing to build infantry. I have a lot of, I have a slight income lead over him right now, 14,000 to 13,000, and I also have a slight value lead, 39,000 to 32,000. So I've definitely taken better engagements right now. So, Def Moose continues to cap, he sends his infantry, takes up my infantry. I was a little bit annoyed that I didn't see this. And here he actually sends his tank over here to take a shot at my infantry. And decides to get aggressive, take a shot at my infantry over here. So at this point I was like, oh, I might lose this city. I need to be careful. He decides to go for the harbor, blocks the harbor cap with his 2 HP infantry, which was a very good move. And he takes a shot at my infantry here, even though it's not realistically going to do anything, but he does move his artillery into range. So at this point I was like, okay, he might actually take the city back from me now. He moves his infantry in, shoots on my capture, and again, just playing really well. I mean, he's really moving in highly on the aggression here. And he builds a tank. I mean, it's about time, honestly. Like, he needs more tanks in the center. And tanks combined with mechs is a very scary prospect. And here he did exactly what I thought he would do. You know, he takes a shot at his recon, further delaying the capture of my com tower by 1 turn. So he actually did really well in this regard. He's been having that 10% firepower advantage for many turns right now, and he'll get it for another one because of that. So here he builds another mech. This guy really loved his mechs. I'm not really sure if that's what he should be doing, but you know, we'll see. So my turn rolls in, I finish capping here, I finish capping here, and I take the city down in the south right here. So this city is now mine. It's going to be very hard for him to take it away from me. And here, you know, his airport is wide open, so I just go, okay, you know, if you want to interrupt this cap, you're going to have to forego your own caps. I was very proud of this move right here, you know, basically forcing him to forego a capture to get one of his own properties back. And taking the airport too, that gives me complete air dominance in the center. Even if I don't take this property, I am preventing him from building in it right now. And he doesn't have it. Like he can't even put his tank back because the forest is blocking him. So I basically have free reign to build battlecopters in the center. Now, of course, he has a base right here which can build anti-air, and do keep in mind that anti-air are within travel distance of this anti-air, so or this airport, I mean. So if you build an anti-air in this base right here, you're shutting down any battlecopter production from this airport, unless you can put an infantry on this property, then you're blocking the... Actually, no. 1, 2, 3, 4... Actually, yeah, you are. If you put a unit on this property, then you're blocking the anti-air, but still, it's something to keep in mind. You can shut down this airport with just a single anti-air. So here I decide to join cap. And the reason why I decide to join cap is because I'm worried about this infantry right here suddenly moving in. At this point, he was halfway to get his side slip. I didn't realistically think he would get it next turn, but in the off chance that he might, I decided that I didn't want a 4 HP infantry on the tower, because if he pops his side slip, he can suddenly move 1, 2 and attack me. At least I think he can. Yes, I think so, because the infantry would get 4 move, the river costs 2 move to move over, so then he would be able to move 1, 2 and then kill my infantry, which would be devastating. That would mean it would take me like probably another 3 turns to get the com tower, which I definitely don't want. So I decided to join my infantry together. I figured this is the best thing to do. And here I build a battlecopter. And you know, at this point, I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that I won't get this city. I'm like, okay, you can have the... Or you, I'm not gonna have the city, but I'm sure as hell not gonna let you take the city. So this battlecopter, as long as it's in this position right here, it can just continuously interrupt this cap, and there's nothing Def Moose can do to get the city, aside from spending 12,000 on a missile, which I don't think any player would like to do on this map. You know, 12,000, that's a big investment. That's, you know, that's a tank. and a bunch of infantry that you would rather have in the center of the map. But this battlecopter can basically just sit here and prevent the city from being taken. And then once it's done doing that, it can cruise south and be useful in the middle. So I was very surprised they didn't do this, honestly. And here I decided to just go capture this property. The reason why I did this was quite simple. I didn't want him to cap this property and then move like this. So basically he could have blocked, not my battlecopter, but he could have blocked my infantry. By doing this, I am forcing him to spend one of his infantry to kill the infantry and then the other infantry to go here. Which means I can, if I want to, I can move my battlecopter into this position right here, attack him, and then I can move the infantry right here and kill the infantry completely. And I move my other infantry back. I realize it's probably dead anyway, but if he wants to spend a turn with this tank shooting on this infantry, then be my guest. Here, I take out his 3 HP infantry, and you can see right now that I'm like threatening his comm tower. He needs to be very careful. He's focusing all of his attention down here to try and hold this city, but his comm tower is actually wide open, so he needs to be very careful right now. My recon moves back, takes a shot at his 3 HP infantry, and here I decided to take a shot at this capping infantry as well, and I'm moving in on the central properties. So already you can see I'm exerting pressure in so many different areas right now, you know? And here I also move my tank down. I recognize that his comm tower is butt naked. And if I can take his comm tower from him, he's in a very bad spot. Like in a very bad spot. So as you can see right here, I'm exerting pressure. Well, I'm not exerting pressure up in the north, but I'm definitely averting it with this battlecopter. I'm exerting pressure here. I'm exerting pressure here. I'm exerting pressure here. So he's just being pressured on so many different fronts right now and being forced to spread himself very thin. And this is what I mean by these two mechs right here. That's 6,000. That is just completely useless right now. These mechs are not threatening anything, and they're just slowly moving across the map, not really doing much of anything. Here, I decided to build a mech, and the reason why I decided to build a mech is because I realized how strong this mech might be against the artillery. Mechs cannot attack artillery without first getting attacked themselves, because they only have 2 move. But if you can somehow get a side slip going, then you suddenly threaten the artillery. Either way, though, I have mountains to move through. And mountains give 4 defense. So if I can get this mech into this mountain, for example, yes, I'll take a shot from the artillery, and it'll do about 4 to 5 HP damage. But then the 5 HP mech will get to shoot on the artillery, and that's gonna hurt. So this mech, I built it to threaten the artillery pretty much. And I wait with my tank right here because this tank is honestly in a perfect location. I don't want to get the first strike from this tank, so I can't attack the recon. Nor do I want to move in range of his mechs, so this tank will pretty much just stay here. Keep in mind there's also a tank up here that can move down, so if I move my tank over here to attack the recon, then I'll get sandwiched between 2 tanks, and that's not a good position to be in. So on his turn, he finishes taking the harbor, takes out this infantry right here, kills my infantry as expected, and starts going for this capture right here. And he decides to forego his cap to interrupt my airport cap, which is definitely the right move. And he sends his other infantry to continue capping this property right here. And then he moves his mech down and moves his tank into position. So here, he definitely realizes that the comm tower is exposed, so he moves his 2 infantry over here, ready to interrupt. He has to interrupt via a river, though, and a road, which is not great for him. 0 defense, so very, very hard to defend this comm tower from the south. He takes a shot at my infantry with his artillery, and seemingly seems to do a good job here, but again, I can just continuously reinforce this city. There's no way he's going to take it even with an artillery. Moves his tanks into the center, and now these these mechs are starting to get threatening right now. They're not threatening yet, but they're starting to. And he has to send his tank down south here to deal with these 2 infantry, so I was very happy about this. I didn't expect to actually get any of these properties, I just wanted him to draw some forces away from the center to deal with it. So again, he's doing a good job interrupting the cap right here. He builds some infantry, and banking up some cash right now. He has 12,000 in the bank. So I was wondering what he was going to do. So, yeah. Once again, I send this infantry towards these properties. I realize these properties are probably lost, but I'm okay with that, because right now I'm seeing a big weakness in his formation. His comm tower is exposed. This city is completely exposed. I have a tank. His artillery is stuck down here. So, you know, all these properties right here are just up for grabs right now. So this is why I say I love this map. Like, this map changes so quickly, you know? You think you're strong in one location, suddenly you're wide open in the other, and whoever can capitalize on those openings will win the map. So here I send in my battlecopter, and as long as this battlecopter is here, he will never get this property. I mean, I guess he can join cap. That's actually something he can do, but I have more infantry in the area to deal with that. And just to prevent him from, you know, I guess the join cap can still very much happen, but on the next turn I'll be able to move like this. But here, I move in and I take a shot at his infantry. Instead of capturing, I take a shot, because I realize that eliminating his infantry in this area is going to be very important. However, I still go for the cap, and I send in my tank, and I take a shot at his infantry right here. So now he only has 1 full health infantry to interrupt the cap, and it has to interrupt the cap from a river, which is not very ideal. Here I move in, take a shot at his infantry instead of capturing once again. And yeah, I'm moving in with my recon. I realize he's probably going to move his tank away, but I actually don't think that's such a bad thing. You know, I'm okay with him moving in to interrupt me here. And I decide to build an anti-air here. The reason being is I'm expecting him to build a battlecopter here. Like, this battlecopter here would be the right move in my opinion, because not only would it help him out here, but it would also help him out in preventing the comm tower from being taken. So I'm building the anti-air, ready to send it down here if a battlecopter pops up. But I'm also keeping the anti-air here in case he takes out my base and builds a battlecopter here. So this anti-air serves 2 functions right now. It wards against the battlecopter on this airport next turn, and it wards against the battlecopter down here next turn. Wherever it might decide to pop up, the anti-air will be in position to respond. So yeah, continuing moving my infantry into the mountains, just taking shots at him, just saying, hey, you're not going to get this city. And this mech right now, look, we're dangerously close to a side slip. You got to be careful. You know, if I get a side slip, 1, 2, 3, bang. Or even better, 1, 2, 3, bang. So this mech, even though it's not in range of the artillery, it's threatening the artillery because of Adder's side slip. So here, my tank moves in. I decide to put it on the city right here. You know, it can't be reached, but I figured it's as good a position as any. I don't want to take shots at this guy right now because Death Moose is very close to getting a side slip. You know, he's only 1,300 away from getting the side slip. Now, because there is a 50% damage penalty or 50% value penalty for killing units, this means he has to kill units worth 2,006. So he needs to destroy either a single mech or about 3 infantry, which he might be able to do with his artillery. So if he gets his side slip, that means his mechs will now threaten the area around the city. So I'm keeping my tanks away. I don't want him to do that. I attack his infantry on the mountain instead of capping because I realize I'm probably not getting this airport anyway. So I might as well take a unit down with me. I move my tank onto the city. You know, if he wants to attack me, he can, but it wouldn't be a good move for him. So, and yeah, I joined cap. I wasn't very proud of this move, honestly. I joined my infantry together, 1 HP infantry. I figured the 1 HP infantry would die anyway, so I was like, okay, why not just use it to strengthen my infantry a little bit. I don't know if this was a good move or not. Day 9 rolls in. He takes a shot on my comm tower pretty expectedly, and he joins together here, which was an interesting move. He moves into the mountain, interrupts my airport capture, and again, I think if this anti-air wasn't here, battlecopter here would have been a very good move, but because the anti-air is here, he can't build a battlecopter here. He sends another infantry over south, and did he join cap? Yeah, no, so he definitely joins caps here, but because I have this infantry here, I'm going to be able to stop that. So here, he sends his infantry over here, and he has to move his artillery right now. He cannot attack with the artillery because of this mech. I'm very close to getting my side slip, 16,900. He cannot keep the artillery around anymore. This is why I said I don't think the artillery is a very good move. Not against a CO like Adder on this map right here. So here, he decides to send his tank onto the HQ, which I thought was a pretty weird move. I think he was worried I was going to attack it with my battlecopter. I think he's also lining up for a push over on the east side right here. And yeah. When I saw this, I was just, what the hell, man? What is going on? The Mad Lad Death Moose actually builds a freaking battleship. Now, this isn't as bad a move as you might think, okay? Even though 28,000 is a crazy amount of money to spend, it does mean that in time, he will get this entire area right here. This battleship, if placed here, it locks down pretty much, it locks down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties, one of them being a base. So I actually don't think this is a terrible move, but Death Moose is a little bit behind. He is behind on income, and he's behind in value. And he's already being pressured heavily on multiple fronts. He's in danger of losing his comm tower, and by building this battleship, he is not building anything in any of his other bases. So while this was a pretty funny move, and maybe one that would have been better if he wasn't so far behind in this match, I don't think this was a good move right now, because, again, he's losing on so many fronts. This battleship, yes, it's going to win him this entire section of the map, but what good does that do when he's losing the comm tower? He's in danger of losing properties down here. He's in danger of losing properties in this area. He's not taking this property. I mean, he's losing on 3 to 4 other fronts right now. So, while I love daring moves like this, I don't think this was a good move in this position. Even though I will say when I saw it, man, I was sweating. I was like, oh my god, what is this guy doing? So he did successfully psych me out. That's for sure. And moving his tank onto this base, I don't really know why he did that. To resupply it, I guess? I don't really know why. There's nothing threatening this tank. I mean, I guess he was worried about the side slip, but still. It's weird. So my turn rolls in. I'm just going to go like, okay, battleship. All right, I'm just going to keep capping, I guess. I'm going to cap these properties while I can, and then I'm just going to get out of there, you know? Okay, I realize this battleship is going to lock down this base. Fine, I'll just build infantry in it, I guess. You know, remember that mission I played against Drake in the advanced campaign of Advanced Wars 1? Where he had a bunch of battleships around my island, and I just continuously kept sending an infantry into their range to keep them occupied. Well, this is kind of the same principle. You know, I'm just going to keep building infantry in this base. If he wants to shell the infantry with his battleship, be my guest. They cost 1,000. He'll need to do that 28 times to earn the battleship in. So I'm just going to stop building valuable units from this base, and I'm just going to keep building infantry in it, pretty much. That's going to be my strategy. So here I do something. This is definitely not a good move on my end. I place my anti-air right in his mech range. So, yeah. This was just a bad move on my end. I don't know why I did this. I could have... I mean, I guess I just really wanted to kill his infantry, and I felt pretty confident in doing it because he just built a battleship. But there's no excuse for throwing away an anti-air like this, even to kill an infantry. So, however, I do block his airport with my tank, and this gives me complete air supremacy in the middle. And I decide to take a shot at his mech with my infantry, because why not? You should always take a shot at a mech with an infantry if you have the chance. You know, they're worth 3 times as much. It's always going to be an effective engagement. And I pop my side slip mid-turn because, you know, I realized why not. 10% extra firepower in defense, I'll take it. And here, I'm just completely crushing him. You know, I'm completely crushing him down in the south. And I'm also taking this property, and there's pretty much nothing he can do to stop me. And I decide, you know what, here... This was not a good move on my end. I should have captured this property instead of this one. I don't really know why I went for this one. I was kind of like, ooh, I have an extra move. I can go for this, but this is a... It's much better to take your opponent's properties away. So that was definitely not a good move on my end. I move my battlecopter around the mountains, and I take a shot from the right because I want to threaten his tank. You know, I want to force him to build an anti-air here, pretty much. And here, he's not getting this property thanks to the battlecopter. And I'm just like, oh, look, this property's up for grabs. Let's go get it. And here I move in my infantry, start capturing his harbor, just applying pressure everywhere, you know. When your opponent builds a battleship, they're basically focusing 28,000 of their economy in a little part of the map, which means they're going to lose strength in other areas of the map. So I'm just going to capture here, capture here, capture here. You know, capture everywhere, basically. And here I build the battlecopter in the center, and look how powerful this battlecopter is right now. Look how much it threatens. And he has no response to it, right? No response to it whatsoever. No anti-air, nothing to ward it away. It can kill the mechs, it can go and kill these guys, it can go north, it can go... This battlecopter can just go anywhere right now. It's so strong. Having an airport in the center of the map is game-breaking. And here, you know, I realize this recon is probably done for, so I take a shot at the infantry just to delay his captures of my bases, you know? Because I realize that I'm going to lose them anyway. I'm going to delay him as much as possible. I take out his infantry in the center to completely eliminate any presence he has. And I move my tank in. You know, the only choice he has right now to interrupt this capture is to either use this infantry or this tank. So I'm moving in my tank in response to that. And I build another tank, because if he wants to attack my tank, I have another tank guarding the tank. I build another infantry. And there we go. So his turn rolls in. And he's not activating his side slip for some reason. I don't know why. I was genuinely surprised by this. So he takes a shot at my recon with his battleship. Again, that battleship is going to be pretty scary, but it's not really going to be able to do a whole lot aside from that. So he starts taking my city. I'm like, okay, fine, you can have that. I don't care. I forced him to build an anti-air, which is, you know, quite predictable. And here, he does not take a shot at my anti-air, which I was super surprised by this. I was so surprised by this. Why would he not do that? He could have taken a very good shot at my anti-air, but he didn't do it for some reason. Not really sure why. He futilely attempts to interrupt my comm tower. He does get it for one more turn, but I'll be able to get it next turn if he doesn't do something. He does do a good job of interrupting me here, though. So pretty well played by him. Very surprised he didn't pop his side slip this turn, though. Very surprised. He moves his mech back, takes up my infantry, or brings it down to 1 HP. So I was like, is he saving for his superpower? I thought this was incredibly weird. So here, I decide to take a shot at his infantry, and in comes the mech. And this is what I mean, you know, eventually the mech is going to reach the artillery. Sure, he took a shot in the mountains, but he could survive that. And now this artillery is severely weakened. And he doesn't have any prospects of attacking my mech either. So again, you can see the pressure is really starting to mount on multiple different locations. I take one of his cities, that is devastating. I continue capping his comm tower. I join my infantry together. He now has no way of interrupting this cap. I send another infantry to try and grab this property right here. I start capturing this property right here. Look at how much this battleship is costing him. He is crumbling in every other area that isn't this location right here. So I start taking this city. There's nothing he can do to interrupt that now. He has an anti-air here, but this battlecopter is gone next turn. So there we go. You know, look at that. The river is preventing this anti-air from pursuing. Even with his power, he would not be able to reach this battlecopter, you know? Maybe with his superpower, he would have been able to. Maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, he would have been able to reach this with the superpower, but he's not going to get his superpower next turn. So again, look at how strong battlecopters are on this map. There's so many mountains and rivers for them to hide behind. It's insane. And here I see an opening in his mech formation. You know, his mech is wide open. I get to attack him from a city, which is fantastic. I send in my battlecopter. Boom, take out his other mech. What did these mechs do this turn? Nothing. They just got killed. And here, I'm feeling so confident with the battlecopter support that I'm just moving in my tanks to take out a 1 HP infantry. I don't care if he gets the first strike from a city. I have battlecopters in the area. So no matter what happens, this tank is dead next turn. I move this anti-air here basically just to lock down this airport, but also to move it out of range of these mechs. Because I'm worried about his superpower right now. He might actually get it. But yeah, I move in my tank. I don't care if he gets the first strike on my tank with his mechs. That's okay. And yeah, look, I'm just continuously building infantry here. I'm just going to keep building infantry from this base to give his battleship something to shoot at. I don't care. I can sacrifice an infantry every turn. Like, this battleship will not be effective unless I do it 28 times, so. And here I just decided to build a transport copter because I realized, you know, he's completely letting up his presence on the map right here. This battleship is costing him so dearly. So I'm just going to build a bunch of transports. I'm just going to build a bunch of transports and just ferry my infantry all over the map and just capture everything, you know? And building another battlecopter because, again, battlecopter's in the center of the map, man. It's insane. So his turn rolls in, still not popping his power. Taking a shot at my infantry with his battleship. Okay, he can do that. I don't care. And he's moving his artillery back, and finally, he builds the battlecopter on day 11. I was wondering when he was going to do it. And moving in with his mech. I mean, this mech is dead next turn. He's completely lost in the center. Takes a pretty good shot at my tank. Not bad. Still not popping his power, though. Not really sure what he's doing here. And now he pops it. Mid-turn? What? I remember looking at this and just going like, what is he doing, man? Like, he was so indecisive with his power. I think he realized he needed it to interrupt this cap, but he's sacking his own tank to try and interrupt this cap. I don't think you should sack a tank to interrupt a cap. Like, I understand you don't want your opponent to get money, but still. And yeah, he is building mechs and infantry mostly. I mean, he's kind of like in pure desperation mode, I think, right now, just trying to interrupt my caps. So yeah, I take the comm tower. Now I have a 20% firepower advantage over him. I continue capping this, so now I have 22,000 to 7,000. I tried to block him from interrupting this cap, but he's still going to be able to get it. But I don't care. I get another shot on his artillery with my mech, so this mech did beautifully. It did exactly what it was supposed to. And I'm not even scared about this battlecopter right now, because it's going to have to spend so much time mopping up these forces right here. I send my own battlecopter, taking out his tank, destroy his tank, destroys his recon. And here, I just send my anti-air in to take out his mech, because at this point, I'm feeling so confident. I'm okay with taking a few, like, mediocre engagements. I know this mech might reach me next turn, because he still has... Even though he pays 20% more to activate his power, He's still gonna have it ready pretty soon because he almost had a superpower ready. So he might even have his power ready next turn. So yeah, I'm just using my transports to move my infantry over the map. At this point, I'm feeling very confident in the match. My battlecopters are wreaking havoc on his units, basically shutting down his base right here. And yeah, I'm just moving in my infantry. Building an anti-air, even in case his battlecopter decides to go over the mountains. I know it's not, but I need something there. And I build another transport because why the hell not? I'm just going to keep capping things. So yeah, his turn rolls in and he does indeed have his power ready. He's still not popping it though. He's still not popping it. Really weird play. Because, I mean, I'm not joking when I said this guy literally like spent almost an hour per turn. I was watching him play. I had this match open. I was very, you know, I was paying close attention to it. He did one move every like 15 minutes. Like he played so slowly. It was so obvious to me he was sitting there, scrutinizing, analyzing, thinking about every single move that he made. So why, oh why, would he make such blatant mistakes as to not activate his power? That I do not get. I really do not get. Either he had some reason for not using it, which I don't get in this situation. There's no reason not to pop your power right away. You need all the help you can get in this situation. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Either he has like, he's way too smart for me to comprehend his actions, or he just made a mistake. So here he interrupts my cap. He was very good at interrupting my caps. Again, once again, taking a shot with his battleship. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to serve him infantry on a silver platter. And once again, activates his side slip mid-turn. Why? I don't get it. He should have done it right away. He needed that 10% firepower increase. Maybe he doesn't know about it? I don't know. Takes a good shot on my anti-air. I knew this was going to happen. I'm completely fine with it. You know, when you're ahead, you can afford to throw away some units for the sake of gaining a little bit of ground. So, yeah, he builds an anti-air in this vicinity. Not surprised to see that. So my turn rolls in. I have my side slip ready. And I activate it right away because I want to get that 10% firepower increase. You know, I move my units across the map with my transports. I'm going to try and go for the space right now, since he's not guarding it very well. Moving my infantry across the mountain, building another infantry, you know, in this base. It's the perfect response to the battleship. And I'm just going to say, screw your battlecopter, I'm just going to start capturing your properties. You know, I just have so many units in the vicinity that I don't really care about his battlecopter. And yeah, moving my anti-air into his location, taking out the infantry. The battlecopter is moving in. Again, I know he has an anti-air in the area, I don't really care. Because first of all, I'm able to shield it with my tank and my anti-air. But even if it takes it out, I'm not really worried at this point. So, and here I decide to take out this infantry. So with this infantry gone, he has nothing guarding these three. So these three properties are going to fall. This property is going to fall. He's practically going to lose every single property on the map that is not around his HQ or around this area. And here I decide, you know, to shut down his base. Whatever comes out of it, I'm just going to keep shooting it down, and I use my tank to block his base. That means I can capture it next turn. I move my transport down to get my mech, build another anti-air, and now I'm even mounting the pressure over on the mountain. So now I'm even starting to pressure his HQ a little bit. Even though his battleship guards his HQ and his bases, you know, the battleship can still only shoot on one thing per turn. So, and yeah, day 13 rolls in and Deathmoose resigns. So I will say, you know, he did some pretty basic mistakes. I like, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I think I played pretty damn well this match. I think one of my biggest flaws with Advanced Wars is that I take my turns too quickly. And this is definitely something I tend to do a lot in league matches. You know, I play fast because I like playing fast, and this makes me do basic mistakes. But in this match, I did sit down, like, at the start of every single one of my turns. I sat down for like 2 minutes, and I just, like, thought about my moves, which is not something I do normally. And I think this really shows in this match. Now, my opponent did basic mistakes, you know, didn't pop his power. You know, he built a battleship, was, as much as I admire him for doing that in a tournament, was not a good move. But I will also say that I think I was at the top of my game in this match. I think I played pretty much a perfect match. Not a perfect, I did some mistakes, obviously, placing the anti-air in range of his mech and stuff like that. So some basic sloppy mistakes, but I think my movement and my capture game was on point this battle. I think I recognized the weaknesses as they appeared and moved in to capitalize on them. So yeah, looks like I'm moving on into this tournament. I wonder who my next opponent is going to be. I'll be casting every single match that I play in this tournament, and who knows? I don't think I'm going to win it. There's some really good players in this tournament. I'm probably going to get my ass kicked in the next turn, but it was it's still a lot of fun, and thank you to Why is your username like this? Thank you for hosting this tournament. I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the next round. Bye-bye.